Hey everybody, peace and blessings to you. Hope this video meets you well. Thank you for clicking on this video. I am Letitia. I'm a 42-year-old home manager, homeschooling, millennial mom of 5 children, immigrant living in the US, INFJ empath. I am a light worker, intuitive, and New Earth messenger, New Earth beacon. What does that mean to me? It means that I see myself as a part of the new earth frequency. I see myself as a bridge between the old world and the new world. And I feel as though I'm holding the light for and holding the vision for the kind of world that I want to live in. I know that there are dark energies right now in a lot of power trying to drag us back into the dark ages, trying to have us surrender our freedom, trying to have us be in a state of constant fear and anxiety, trying to bring back on, in an even more prevalent, powerful stage than it is already, trying to bring back fascism and genocide. Well, all of this is happening. Fascism, genocide, authoritarianism, lots of wars, World War III. They're trying to go for the whole shebang. They're trying to do it all, right? I don't know why. It doesn't seem to sustainable. It doesn't make it. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't get it. But that's what certain energies right now, and it's certain people are in that frequency, and that's what they're all about. That's what they're trying to do. There's the ones in power. They have the power, and they are using that power and that privilege and that platform to divide and manipulate and gaslight and control and abuse and all, and use and steal and kill and destroy. That's what they're all about. Those are the ones in power. And then there's the ones who are like sheep. For some reason, they're following and they're drawn to that kind of energy. They're drawn to what those kinds of people in power are selling. They want that. Their hate causes them to be drawn to that. Their preference to be lied to and deceived causes them to be drawn to that. Their blame, their low vibration, the frequency that they are on attracts them to that energy. But I have chosen not to be a part of that energy, and I am, unless it comes right on my front door, unless it's right there where I have to deal with it, I am going to continue to work towards staying in a higher vibration, creating, holding the vision for the future, and creating the world right now, living in the frequency right now, living in heaven on earth, creating my own little heaven right now as best as I can. I'm starting with my mindset, what I set my mind on. As some spiritual people say, you turn the frequency to what you want, like a radio station. You turn it to the frequency that you want to be on. So the frequency that I want to be on is a loving, learning, living, laughing, dancing, flowing, knowing, glowing, sewing, creating, colorful, happy energy. That's what I want to be all about. And honestly, since I've started to set my mind on that frequency, that is the kind of life that has been attracted to me. That is the energy that's been coming my way, the opportunity that's been coming my way, the opportunity to live that kind of life. So what you're clicking into, if you're wondering, is a series that I've been doing all summer that I call Today. I believe that this might be the last episode of that series. This video might be the last episode of that series because, from next week, my summer is going to have a different kind of focus. My birthday is coming up. I have a job that's coming up too. That will be taking up a lot of my time. I won't have as much free time to do this series anymore. As well as I am feeling as though I don't want to be like paying as much attention to the political stage and to the external, world stage in the way that I have been. I kind of want to focus my energy, as summer is coming to an end, focus my energy on my personal quests, on enjoying the last couple of weeks of summer, the last few weeks of summer, and focusing on that job that I have coming up, and just focusing my attention on things that is related to my life, and in preparation for whatever's to come. I am preparing for the world I want to live in. I'm living in the world I want to live in now, and I'm preparing for it now. I'm preparing for the kind of future that I want to have. I am not going to find myself following the nitty gritty and the details and the day to day and all of certain things I have no control over, you know, and I'm not going to let them scare me. I'm going to put my faith and trust that the people who are in the thick of it, the people who actually are in the fight, in that fight, I'm going to put my trust that they are going to do their part, because everything is going to align the way it's supposed to. Everybody knows what they are supposed to do and what their role is in this moment. If once you are an awakened being, once you are aware and you're paying attention and you haven't, and you're listening and following that inner guidance and that inner knowing, listening to your heart, listening to what your spirit is telling you, following the guidance of your spiritual guide, following the energy and where it's leading, the natural flow of your life, then you are on the right path. And I know for sure that I am following the natural flow of my life. I know for sure that I have done everything I can up until this point, and I am going to continue to do everything I can. But as a mother of 5 children and as a person who wants a better life and a better future, I am preparing, like I said, I'm preparing for the future that I want. But, however, I don't think that anybody that really, really is in the thick of it will be watching my videos. But if you are somebody that's in the thick of it and you feel called to do certain things in the political, realm, volunteer for something, or make phone calls, or write letters, or go to a protest, or do the things like that, if that's what you feel called to do, then that's your calling. That's what, you have to learn to listen. You have to listen to that inner guidance, that inner calling. Now, I just want to say something. I'm recording on around 5 in the evening, and I usually don't record at this time. And I can already tell by the way how I sound that I'm feeling a little bit more rambly and a little bit more less flowy than I normally feel. I don't think I'm doing a bad job. This is my third start. I had 2 false starts, when I said, no, that wasn't going very well, I have to do it over. But I just want to say that if this is not a perfectly flowy video, it's because I'm recording in the evening. This is not usually when I am at the peak of, in the peak of my, whatever, focus. But I wanted to record this video because I believe that this is going to be the last of this series. And then after this, I'll be focusing my energy in doing things a little bit differently. So today is, I don't know if I said it already, but today is August 15th, 2025. I am 13 days away from I believe it's 13 days. Am I doing that math right? Yeah, 13 days away from my 43rd birthday. And one of the things that I was sharing in this series is numbers. I was sharing certain numbers. I was sharing my quest numbers and, my quest numbers, quest 2 and quest 3. What I've been saying is that quest 1, I have 3 quests for 2025. Quest 1 was the first 6 months of this year. Inner peace, inner harmony, calm, relaxation, being able to regulate my emotions, not learning how to deal with the traumas and the triggers, and dealing with certain things, like just bringing myself to that state of inner peace and harmony. And I got to the point where when we moved into summer, I was able to focus my energy on quest 2 and quest 3. Quest 2 is body health, weight loss. I've been on a weight loss quest since June. I started out at 222, and now today I'm at 205. That was my little mini goal my husband set for me at the beginning of this week. He said 5 by Friday, and we got to 5 by Friday. I'm at 205 today. And it was my hope, and I'm still hoping, because anything is possible. But I'm losing weight slower than that, so I don't know. But anything is possible. I'm going to try my best to get out of the 200s by my birthday. I got 13 days to do it, so we'll see what happens. Wish me luck. The other quest number that I would share is quest 3, which is talking about my subscriptions. My goal for 2025 was to at least, more will be even wonderful, but at least get 100 subscribers on YouTube by the end of this year. And right now I'm at 71. So give myself a round of applause. I'm at 71. All right. I wanted to share that in the previous video, I started to talk about a book that I was listening to on Audible. I stopped listening to it. I haven't gotten to finish it yet, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about this book because I wanted to talk about the fourth turning. In the previous video that I recorded, it came a little bit natural talking about the fourth turning because it was something that I said, but I don't remember what I said. I got the page up. The Fourth Turning is a book written by, I'm going to read it for you. The Fourth Turning, as described by William Strauss and Neil Howe, is a theory of history that proposes a cyclical pattern of roughly 80-year periods, each divided into 4 turnings or eras. These turnings are high, awakening, unraveling, and crisis. The crisis turning, also known as the fourth turning, is a period of societal upheaval and transformation, often marked by conflict and re-evaluation of values. Here's a breakdown of the 4 turnings. High. The first turning, a period of social stability and optimism, often characterized by strong institutions and a sense of shared purpose. Awakening. The second turning is a period of spiritual and cultural awakening, often marked by social and political upheaval as new ideas and values emerge. Unraveling. The third turning is a period of social and political division, where established institutions begin to lose their authority and individualism is emphasized. 4. Crisis, fourth turning. This is the final turning, a period of great and perilous change, often involving war, revolution, and other major crises. This is a time when society confronts its deepest problems and reemerges with its new sense of purpose. The climax of this crisis often involves a unifying event that forces people to confront their differences and work together. The theory suggests that these turnings repeat in a predictable cycle, with each cycle leading to a new high, and that the current fourth turning is characterized by a shift in the way society operates, potentially including new forms of community and governance. So that's the period that we're in, according to this study. They did a lot of study. They studied these things that have happened throughout the course of history, and this 80-year cycle that humanity goes through, right? Where we go through the high, we all feeling good, we're optimistic, we're building and creating the world that we want to live in. Then there's the awakening, and where new ideas and values emerge, then the unraveling, and then the crisis. So we're in the crisis right now. And the thing is, another thing that is very interesting in that book is that they talk about the periods of the seasons, the cycle of a human's life, right? And the periods that different generations will be in. Like right now, according to this graph that I'm looking at, they say that the millennials are in their young adulthood. But the way how they have it categorized by age, the age that I fit in is in, the math isn't really adding up on this graph. So it got me a little confused. The age that I'm in now is in midlife. They have 42 to 62. I'm 42, going to be 43 soon. And they have that as the midlife stage. And they have that categorized as Generation X. Even though on this graph, the millennials, the year that I was born, they have in the millennial section. So the math isn't adding up. It's confusing. But I would say, if setting aside how this graph is structured, because they're a little off, I would say that I'm in the midlife section of my life, and I identify as a millennial, and the age that they have is millennial. My year, the year I was born, is in the millennial category, even though the age is in the midlife category. So it's a really confusing thing. But childhood, young adulthood, midlife, elderhood. So the boomers now are experiencing elderhood. Elderhood is 63 to 83, right? Elderhood is that age where, people are like either retiring or passing on, or basically stepping away from the leadership roles and stepping away from having a major say in the direction that whether they want to or not. Like it's either you are retiring and living out the end of your days like happy, passing on that seat or that position to somebody younger. It's either you're retiring or you're dying in your seat. And I'm not only talking about politics, I'm just talking about anywhere in general. It's either you're retiring and just living the rest of your days in a more eldership advisory position, or you're dying in the damn seat. You refuse to vacate the seat. You refuse to train somebody to take over your position, and you die in the damn seat. That version of adult is I find that to be a very irritating version of an adult, of somebody in their elderhood. How I see it is, when you hit your elderhood, you've got to start preparing the younger generation to take your position, take your place, allow them to somebody to move into your seat, and you step back and move into a more advisory position, because if not, you're going to die in the friggin' seat, and then you're going to have people scrambling after you pass on, scrambling to have somebody move into that position. Like for instance, if we're going to talk about politics, we got the Ruth Gatorberg. We got Ruth Gator. Frig. We got the Supreme Court justice that died in her seat. She was in her 80s, I think. Yeah, she died at 87. She was a Supreme Court justice at 87 years old. She died in her seat and was replaced by a Republican justice, Amy Coney Barrett. She overstayed her time in that seat. Then we got we talking about politics. We got Dianne Feinstein. She was 90 years old, and she died. When she died, she was still a senator. She still had her seat in the Senate. So she had to be replaced because she passed on while on the job. 90 years old. And I find that there's something a little off. Something is so off with these. I don't know what generation she fits in, but I did, with the boomers and the generation that came before the boomers. I don't know what generation is the generation before the boomers, but it's just something a little off with these generations, where for some reason the boomers and the older ones just, if I say I will offend people, I don't want, there's just a bit of a selfishness there. They, they climbed the ladder and they pulled it up. They crossed the bridge and then they started to cut. It just seems to me like these people just thought about themselves, and I don't mean that as in like every single boomer or every single whatever the generation is before the boomers. I can't remember, but every single boomer in the generation before the boomers. It's not that I am saying that everybody's like that, but the personality, the overall personality type, the overall way of doing things of these two generations is like that. They and they didn't think about the future generations at all. Barely. They barely considered us in their actions and the choices that they made. They didn't calculate for our future one bit. And that is just absolutely like strange to me. Anyway, this, like I said, this is going to be the last of this series, and I also said that this video wasn't going to flow as perfectly and as great as other videos have, because it's evening time, and I guess I'm not really as well put together as I would like to be. But I'm going to flip the screen, and I'm going to talk about a few things, and basically I'm gonna, we're gonna see where how things turn out. We're gonna see how things turn out. But as far as I'm concerned, I am at the moment living my best life. I am grateful to be living my best life. I'm grateful for where I'm at and the journey that I'm on and how far I've come. And as I've said, this is sunflower month for me. So I told you that this month I will be the sunflower. So I'm just going to show you my new sunflower shirt. And now I'm going to flip the screen, and we're going to talk about some things. And I hope that you enjoy this series. I'm sorry that I'm not closing off the series with a better video, like a more, something better, But I believe, I think in my heart that this is the last of this format of this series, of today. And for the rest of the summer, I'm going to try to focus on, I may be doing shorter videos, and not so daily, not so consistent, just going with it, just enjoying the rest of my summer, enjoying my birthday, doing the job that I have coming up, continue on my weight loss quest, continue to get this YouTube account to grow, this YouTube channel to grow, continue doing my thing, and also continue observing what is taking place, but maybe not so intentionally, and maybe not so, what's the word, so maybe not as much detail, in as much detail, or whatever. Wow. Look and see what I have here. I think I will be starting the stuff that I didn't talk about in the last one. Starts from here, I think. Okay, so this is a no disimpact post that I saw, that I screenshot. Trump orders review of Smithsonian museums to ensure the material aligns with the whitewashed version of the U.S. history. This is fascism. Trump admin ordered a review that aims to ensure 8 Smithsonian museums celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. They have this in quotations because that's probably what was in the letter. That means anything that doesn't paint America in a perfect light or challenges the MAGA worldview could be in jeopardy. The review will focus on 8 museums, including the Museum of American History, Natural History, African American History and Culture, and the National Museum of the American Indian, and the National Museum of the American Indian. Restoring truth and sanity to American history. I guess that was what was at the top of their executive order, his executive order. The move is to force the museums into compliance with Trump's March executive order that specifically targeted a Smithsonian American Art Museum exhibit called The Shape of Power, accusing the work of portraying a divisive race-centered ideology because it claimed race was a social construct invented by humans, not a biological reality. And here is a copy a picture of the executive order from the White House. Once widely respected as a symbol of American excellence and a global icon of cultural achievement, the Smithsonian institution has, in recent years, come under the influence of a divisive, race-centered ideology. The shift has promoted narratives that portray American and Western values as inherently harmful and oppressive. For example, the Smithsonian American Art Museum today features The Shape of Power, Stories of Race and American Sculpture, an exhibit representing the societies, including the United States, have used race to establish and maintain systems of power, privilege, and disenfranchisement. The exhibit further claims that sculpture has been a powerful tool in promoting scientific racism and promotes the view that race is not a biological reality but a social construct, stating race is human invention. Trump seeks to root out content he opposes and replace, I'm reading from here now. Trump seeks to root out content he opposes and replaces it with material that is supposedly unifying, quotation marks, and historically accurate, quotation marks. He's trying to whitewash American history, and critics are right to worry that given his recent moves to celebrate Confederate soldiers, he may portray the worst aspects of our history in a favorable light. I would have to say, from my own witnessing of the way how these people operate and do things, I would have to agree on that. It's an upside down world that they're living in, and what's right is wrong, and what's wrong is right. In fascist systems, cultural institutions like museums are tools for shaping public consciousness and enforcing an official ideology endorsed by the state. That's exactly what Trump is doing by showcasing only state-approved narratives, suppressing histories that contradict official ideology, and promoting a mythologized national past. In other words, a past that they made up. Their version of it. Their made-up version. So just to notice this picture, that's Hitler right there. And with his swastika armband thing. Looking at paintings or something in a museum. In a museum. So here's a quote from Lisa Strong, professor of art history at Georgetown University. Museums cannot change content to suit a political whim or agenda. The best way for museums to maintain the high public trust they already enjoy is by remaining independent. Museums are staffed by experts in their fields who interpret the collection to help educate the public about art, history, science, and culture. Their content should not be reviewed, revised, or edited for political gain. So obviously that is common sense. But we're dealing with fascism. We're dealing with ignorance. We're dealing with people that are trying to change history and whitewash history and rewrite history. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the museums to, again, only portray favorable information in the way in which they identify the information as favorable, in the way that they see, the way how they want the story told, the way how they want the narrative told. So this is something that I found to be very interesting. Body of Antarctica researcher found 66 years after he disappeared exploring glacier. So the reason I find that to be very interesting is because this seems to be a reoccurring thing that has been happening a lot lately. As we've been hearing, we're going through a shift, the planet going through a shift, and we going through a shift. And even though I talked about the fourth turning and how this is consistent, the turning that we're in is consistent with the fourth turning, the crisis period, the crisis era described in the book, written by Neil Howe and William Strauss. The thing is that this season is a little bit different. It's the fourth turning, yes, but it's quite different. It's like it's unlike any other time in human history. It is this is a unique time. There's never been a time like this ever. So a lot of things are being, the planet is going through a shift and we're going through changes. Humanity is going through changes, and a lot of things are being revealed and coming to the surface. So the remains of a 25-year-old Antarctica researcher has been found 66 years after he disappeared when he fell into a crevice in 1959 during a survey mission, officials said. Dennis Tink Bell's Dennis Tink Bell's remains were found among rocks exposed by a receding glacier at Admiralty Bay on King George Island, situated off the Antarctica Peninsula, after he fell into a crevice on July 26, 1959, and his team was unable to recover his body after the accident, the British Antarctica Survey, BAS, said. Over 200 personal items were also found, including the remains of radio equipment, a flashlight, ski poles, an inscribed Erguel wristwatch, a Swedish Mora knife, ski poles, and an ebonite pipe stem, the BAS confirmed. So that's an interesting piece of information, that this guy, after falling in a crevice in Antarctica 66 years ago, his body was found. This is an old thing, but this was posted recently, even though it's somebody sharing a old post that was posted in July. But nevertheless, I copied it because it's an interesting piece of information. In July, Donald Trump had posted a video with Barack Obama being arrested. So this is somebody sharing their opinion. Andrea Junker. She is a popular somebody that often is quoted for their tweets and their posts and their perspective on things. I don't know her other than seeing her posts being shared by other people, her tweets and stuff being shared by other people. So I don't know who she is really. But Andrea Junker, she shared the fact that the president of the United States posts a fake video of a kneeling Barack Obama being handcuffed, and we're supposed to pretend it's perfectly normal, everyday stuff, shows exactly what's terribly wrong with today's political mainstream media. And she posted that on July 21st, 2025 at 7:55 p.m. And I couldn't agree more. There's something absolutely off with this mainstream media. All right, so democracy now. UN experts say Israel has committed medicide, that's a new term, quotation marks, medicide by destroying Gaza health system. Israel's targeted destruction of Gaza's healthcare system amounts to medicide, an attempt to wipe out medical care in the Strip, two leading UN experts said Wednesday. As human beings and the UN experts, we cannot remain silent about the war crimes committed before our eyes, in Gaza, said Talil Mofoken, special rapporteur on the right to health, and Francesca Albanese, special rapporteur for Palestine. I don't know what a rapporteur is. In addition to bearing witness to the ongoing genocide, we are also bearing witness to a medicide, a sinister component of the intentional creation of conditions calculated to destroy Palestinians in Gaza, which constitutes an act of genocide, they said. The World Health Organization has documented hundreds of attacks on healthcare in Gaza since October 7, 2023, which have killed at least 917 people affected 125 health facilities and damaged 34 hospitals. So I can't even begin to say how there's something so off and so fishy about this whole thing from October 7th. I would have to say that I honestly believe with all my heart that Netanyahu, the prime minister, I think is prime minister of Israel. Let me just check. Net prime minister, yeah. The prime minister of Israel. I would have to say that is my belief that this thing that happened on October 7th was a setup, was allowed to happen in order to escalate an agenda in which they wanted to eradicate people altogether, like just get them out of Gaza and at all costs. And it's not even that they're trying to let them leave, although even if they push them out, where would they go? It is actually like trying to kill off people, ethnic cleansing, genocide, and now a new term that I've just heard, medicide. Basically trying to kill off of people, to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what this energy, this dark energy that is taking over too much of our planet right now is all about, to kill, steal, and destroy. And you can find that Bible verse in John 10:10, because that's really sticking with me. The only agenda right now is to kill, steal, and destroy. And for what? For power and for control. But for power and control over what? A destroyed planet? I just do not understand it. I keep constantly saying I don't get it. All right. Oh, this one that's saving for last. So here's a little bit of information teaching information. In my previous episode of today, I talked about, and a lot of times I talk from memory. So I always like to have, go into the computer and get accurate information so I can share information accurately, as opposed to just speaking from memory. So one of the things I brought up two things. I brought up what is the requirement to run for president in this country. Where is that information? What kind of democracy in the U.S.? So I asked Google, the AI. I prefer the AI, to be honest. These days, I prefer to deal with the AI search engine than the regular search engine. I prefer the AI mode. So I asked what requirements to be president, and it said exactly what I said. The only thing it didn't say, it said you have to be a natural born citizen, and you have to be at least 35 years old, and you have to have lived in the country. You have to have been a residency. The candidate must have been a resident within the United States for at least 14 years. And that is all you need to qualify to run for president. And then they added on this additional part. In addition to these core constitutional requirements, other constitutional provisions place limits on who can become president. The Senate can disqualify anyone it convicts in an impeachment trial from holding office. So you got to hold that thought and realize that Donald Trump was impeached twice, but not convicted. He was impeached by the House, but not convicted by the Senate. Because what happens is you do the impeachment in the House, and then the Senate has to agree. The Senate has to convict him. And once he's convicted, once that impeached president is convicted, which it doesn't seem like that tool that was placed in order to protect the country from bad presidents, it hasn't worked in the times that it really needed to work. And the one time it really needed to work, it didn't work because the Senate did not convict. So we have a Donald Trump presidency again. Now he's effing up the country because the Senate did not convict both times. The Senate did not convict. So the 14th Amendment, Section 3, prohibits anyone who has taken an oath to support the Constitution and then engage in the insurrection or rebellion against the United States from holding office. Congress can remove this disqualification with a 2/3 vote in both the House and the Senate. That is another tool that could have prevented a Donald Trump presidency because he also participated in an insurrection. And there were people that were trying to get the Congress to come together and what would you say, use the 14th amendment to stop him from taking the presidency. But because of the way how this political system is structured right now, because of the amount of sycophants and how divided it is, and how much it's more about your party, it's party over country, really. That was something that just did a tool again that could have protected us from the Donald Trump presidency that was not used. So again, that didn't work either. The 14th Amendment. The 22nd Amendment limits a person serving. The 22nd Amendment limits a person to serving no more than 2 terms as president. But I can tell you this: it definitely seems, without a shadow of a doubt, that this president is trying to see if he could be there for the rest of his life. If he's still living, he will probably, and if he's still living and still president, he will probably they would try it to see if they could get him to run for a 3rd term. They have joked about it, quotation marks, joked about it many times throughout the course of the last 8 years, many times. And I heard Gavin Newsom say today, Governor Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he said today that he was sent a Trump 2028 hat, by a prominent Trump supporter, meaning not just an everyday person. I think that's what I understood from what he said, like somebody like really high up, So the next question I had asked: what kind of democracy is the U.S.? Because a lot of MAGA people would argue that America is not a democracy, that it is a republic. So republic. I asked, what kind of democracy is the U.S.? The United States operates under a complex system that can be characterized as a constitutional federal republic functioning with democratic principles, particularly as a representative of democracy. Here's a breakdown of what that means. Representative democracy. This is the core democratic aspect of the U.S. system. Citizens elect officials, representatives, to voice their concerns and ideas, vote on legislation, and make decisions on their behalf, rather than directly voting on every issue, which would be a direct democracy. So it is a representative democracy, meaning that you vote for people who will represent you, will be your voice, will be the voice of your district, will be the voice of your state, will be the voice of your of your district, of your state, of your town, etc., is a representative democracy, so that you don't have to vote on every little thing. You got these people voting on your behalf. But this system has gone so off the rails that people are voting on behalf of money and power. They're voting on behalf of the lobbyists. Which is why people like Bernie Sanders and Robert Wright, I would have mentioned those before, talk about getting money out of politics. Many people talk about getting money out of politics because money in politics became a dangerous thing. It's a thing that the Supreme Court allowed to happen, where they allowed corporations to donate to campaigns as people. They could have a corporation sort of pretending that it representing the people of that corporation and donating on behalf of that corporation. So that is why a lot of policy would more benefit corporations and capitalism and the money than the people. Okay, so republic. The United States is also a republic because the power ultimately rests with the people, but they delegate the power to elected representatives to govern on their behalf. A key element of a republic is that it is a state without a monarchy. Constitutional. The U.S. government is based on a written constitution, which outlines the structures of the government and defines the limits of its power, according to the U.S. Embassy in Argentina. Federal power. Power is shared between a national government and the governments of the 50 individual states. Each state has its own constitution and laws, but they cannot contradict the federal law. In essence, the United States is a representative democracy because citizens choose elected officials to represent them, and it's a republic because the ultimate power rests with the people who elect those representatives. The Constitution provides framework for the system, and the federal structure ensures a division of power between the national and state governments. So that's very interesting, and it only goes to show that when people argue, people gotta start utilizing this Google better, and they gotta utilize the AI mode of Google and not going on people's sites anymore for information, because you need to have more accurate information. But it means that when people argue about whether it's a republic or a democracy, and they say it's not a democracy, it's a republic, they're saying something silly because it's both. It's a republic democracy. So the next question I ask, is a republic a form of democracy? That's the question I ask. Yes, a republic can be a form of democracy, but the terms are not interchangeable. Here's a breakdown. Republic, a system of government in which the supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives, rather than by a hereditary monarch. The focus is on the rule of law and the protection of individual rights, typically through a constitution. Examples including the United States, which is a republic, and many other countries throughout the world. Democracy, a system of government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised by them directly and indirectly through a system of representation, usually involving a periodic, free, and fair elections. There are different forms of democracy, including direct democracy, where citizens vote directly on laws and policies, and representative democracy, where citizens elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf. Examples of countries that are considered full democracies in 2024 include Norway, Iceland, and Denmark. Relationship. Many modern republics are also representative democracies, meaning the people elect representatives to govern. However, not all republics are democratic, and not all democracies are republics. For instance, a republic might restrict voting rights to a select group of citizens, which would not be considered a democracy. However, according to the AI overview, this republic, the American Republic, is also a democracy. It's a representative democracy. It's a form of democracy. On the other hand, a country like the United Kingdom is a democracy which elected representatives, but it's also a monarchy, not a republic. In essence, a republic is a specific structure of government, one without a monarch, while a democracy is a system where the power is ultimately held by the people. Most countries considered democracies today are also republics, and are often referred to as democratic republics, and are often referred to as democratic republics and representative democracies. So I'm going to try to remember to put these things that I share. Sometimes I would stumble on a story or a video that is so good, that is so profound and thought-provoking and well-worded, that I really wish that other people would hear it. And it stands out to me. And this here was a good one. This is from Brooklyn Dad Defiant, Rigged Game, How the Rich and Powerful, oh gosh, I don't know what the title of this video was. How the Rich and Powerful, I got it cut off right here. But this was so good. I'm going to put it in the, I'm going to put it in the description in case anybody might be interested in watching that video. I also saved this. I saved this. This is a August 14th one, but this is in this video here. This is not really the video itself, but in this video here, she was just talking about the why she writes. She writes something called "Why I Write Letters from an American," and I could tell you something. I don't really read her stuff every day or often, or I don't watch her stuff every day or often. But every time I do, the clarity in which she explains things is just so. If I was to recommend somebody to help, if you're following this stuff and you wanted to understand what is going on with great clarity and, calm and clarity, this is the woman. I could see why she does really well in what she does in terms of the videos and the on YouTube and her letters on Substack, because she explains it so clearly, so well, so calm. Her name is Heather Cox Richardson. So I'm going to link maybe this video or another video, something, in the bottom in case you're interested in that as well. So one of the things that I want to talk about is that this morning was an awesome morning. I mean, today was an awesome morning, I could tell you. I exercised, I danced. Oh gosh, it was such a good morning. I'm going to make a video about it too. I have a lot of footage here of a great workout morning for me in so many ways. Like, I danced and created some exercise TikToks. I use a new exercise thing that I just recently got. I did breathing. I did my vibration plate. If you can see where my arrow is right there, did my vibration plate. I did I stumbled on somebody on YouTube that I'm also going to link in the description that does exercise dance videos, that I think I'm going to go back to her channel regularly, and I did one of her videos today and it was so good, and I would definitely go back to her channel regularly. So check in the description for that as well. I saved this. Is a meme shared from a post from Donald Trump, and then somebody responding to it. Liberation Day, and he has it in all caps. Liberation Day in DC. We are taking our capital back. And then somebody here responds at the bottom. Hi, German here. We remember that Adolf acted from within against his own citizens. The alarm bells are ringing so loudly. Open the window, you can hear me. So, like I said, this is history repeating itself. They're just following the playbook, history repeating itself. But this one is different. This time, even though it feels like history repeating itself, this is different though. There's never been a time like this. And the outcome is going to be different. And the course in which things take place and happen is going to be different. It does have that rhyme. It rhymes. But it's not really repeating itself. It's rhyming. Kellogg says it will remove artificial dyes from cereals by the end of 2027. W.K. Kellogg Co. has announced that it will stop using artificial dyes in its breakfast cereals by the end of 2027, according to a statement from the company. The maker of Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, Frosted Flakes, and Rice Krispies just announced just to name a few, said that they are evolving their portfolio of cereals to provide consumers with more of what they want and need, such as whole grains and fiber, and less of what they don't. And that's just amazing. That's amazing. I hope that they follow through with that, because that's an amazing piece of progress towards the newer frequency that I'm talking about, the better future that I'm talking about. Because if we start to tap into that frequency, and we, the people, our mindsets change, and what we purchase change, and what we're interested change, and what we watch change, and what we buy change, then these people will have no choice but to follow suit. The way in which they're trying to drag people back to the past is not sustainable, and it's stupid, and it won't work. It's just a stupid setback, a stupid unnecessary setback. And I found this here to be very interesting. If you would recall, if you don't recall, then Google it, look it up on the internet. I showed in a previous episode how Donald Trump, according to some pictures and headlines and stuff, has redecorated the White House, and it looks very similar to this with a lot of gold trimming in the very tackiest, ugliest way. It actually looked really similar to this, to be honest. So here's this post. Trump and Ivana in Leningrad, however you say that, Leningrad, Russia, in 1987. Now you know what inspired his Oval Office restorations. So that's food for thought. Very interesting. Okay, so this is ETA, Election Truth Alliance. I don't really share a lot about Election Truth Alliance. I haven't really, but this is a group that is really looking into the 2024 elections because there were a lot of weird shit, anomalies, a lot of the mathing, a lot of things that just seem really off. And I don't know why more people aren't talking about it, but this is one group that is actually really, really trying to look into it. They're really trying to look into it, but the energy is not as much toward that as I wish it was, because the only way to move forward is for the truth to be revealed, for people to realize, to know, to learn the truth, which I believe is America did not vote for this. Honestly, America didn't actually vote for this. The majority didn't vote for this. He did not win all the swing states. I do not believe that for a minute. I never believed it, and nobody's gonna gaslight me into believing that. So, when life gives you lemons, make lemon. There's a post from them. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And when life gives you major political leaders openly discussing rigging future elections, you jump on that opportunity to ask, are you sure it's only future elections? Let's check the receipts and verify the vote for 2024. We must confirm that 2026 and all future elections are secure. So I'm hoping that if soon enough the energy behind this increases and we get the truth, because I don't know, until the truth comes out, I don't know how any future elections would be secure, safe and secure, or fair and free. They won't be. So now let's get to the good stuff, because that's all I got in terms of political and world, in terms of the political worldview type stuff. So let's go to the inspirational stuff that I saved. I love this because they had, the sunflower, the pictures of the sunflower and stuff like that. Out of my control. The past, the future, God's timing, outcomes, when growth happens, past decisions I made, what other people think, others' actions, the passing of time. In my control. This is the circle here. In my control. Bold prayer. How I spend my time. What I give my energy to, walking by faith, believing God's word, my actions, my responses, the goals I set, how I handle challenges, what I focus on. So this, remember what I talked about at the beginning? This is where I'm at. I am dealing with what I can control. This is the external world right here. See all this? Out of my control. External world. So I'm observing, but I am I am dealing with this circle right here. This here, for this series, I've been observing. I don't know how long I'll be observing it. Anyway, I've been observing it, but this is what I've been observing for this series. The external world, the things out of my control. The more space I create within, the easier it becomes to flow with life. So take a look at the pictures. The more space that I create within, the easier it becomes to flow with life. Act like it's already done. Speak like it's already done. Feel like it's already done. The universe has no choice but to reflect that back at you. I am exactly where I need to be in my journey. Every experience, every challenge, every blessing has led me to this perfect moment of becoming. Amen to that. And I think that is where I will end this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I don't think this is the last time for doing a format like this. I hope that people stumble on my videos so that they can, I hope that people appreciate this format. you know, because I love doing it this way. It's uniquely my way. I love doing it this way. I probably would try to be a little, I might not be able to do it as often for the next couple few weeks. I don't even know if I'll do any more formats like this for the next few weeks, but I am absolutely sure that I will do this format again. I have no clue if I might do it within the next 3 weeks because I love it so much that I might not be able to help myself. I will see how time flows and how I'm able to manage my time in the weeks to come. But I want to say, sending you love, sending you positivity, sending you good energy, sending you good vibes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you would share and like and subscribe and tell people about this video and the type and the style it is. I know that it is long form. I know that people don't always I know people don't have this kind of time. You know, but I hope it's the kind of video that people can watch in parts or something. I really love this format and I want to find an audience for it. So, you know, love, peace, positive energy, and sunflower energy. Have a wonderful, wonderful August, the rest of the week. Have a wonderful rest of August, rest of summer. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that you are safe. I hope that I hope that you just be strong and courageous and keep the faith. Trust in divine timing. Trust that you are where you need to be. Trust that whatever process you're going through, it is a process that you're meant to go through. So just go through it. Like, keep swimming, keep walking, keep climbing, whatever it is you're doing. You know, keep moving forward. Don't give up. You have to go through this process and you will get to the other side if you hang in there and stay strong. You know, peace and blessings and a lot of love. Thanks for watching.